Good morning, children. Today we are going to start a new lesson in history, that is Nazism and the rise of Hitler. Now, in this lesson, we are going to focus upon the Nazism and the rise of Hitler, under which we are going to see first the birth of Weimar Republic, then Hitler's rise to power, the Nazi worldview, youth in Nazi Germany, and ordinary people and the crimes against humanity. The lesson starts with the end of the Second World War, that is, the Second World War took place between 1939 to 1945. Now, this Second World War took place between the two powers, that is, Allies and Axis powers. The Allies powers were initially led by UK and France, and in 1941 they were joined by USSR and USA, and they fought against Axis power, which included the countries Germany, Italy, and Japan. Now, at the end of the Second World War, an international military tribunal was set up at Nuremberg to prosecute Nazi war criminals for crimes against peace, then for war crimes and crimes against humanity. Now, under the shadow of Second World War, Germany had waged a genocidal war which resulted in mass murder of selected groups of innocent civilians of Europe. Now, these innocent civilians included people like Jews, Gypsies, Polish civilians, and Germans who were considered as mentally and physically disabled. And apart from all this, there were innumerable political opponents also. And Nazi people, they had devised an unprecedented means of killing people, that is, by gassing them in various killing centers. So, after the end of the Second World War, the Nuremberg Tribunal sentenced only 11 Nazis to death. The reasons for punishing only few Nazi could partly be traced back to the German experience at the end of the First World War. So, what was this experience? We are going to read now. Now, we start the lesson after the First World War. Germany was a powerful empire in the early years of 20th century. So, it fought First World War alongside the Austrian Empire, and they fought the war against the Allies power, which included countries like England, France, and Russia. They had hoped to gain a quick victory, that is, Germans, they hoped to gain from quick victory, but they did not realize that the war will go on for a very long period of time, that is, from 1914 to 1918. So, during the initial years of war, Germany had made many gains by occupying France and Belgium, but later on, Allies' power were strengthened by the entry of US in 1917, and they defeated Germany and the Central Powers in November 1918. The defeat of Imperial Germany resulted in the abdication of Emperor and setting up of National Assembly. Now, this National Assembly, it met at a place called as Weimar, and it established a democratic constitution. This constitution was federal in structure, and deputies were elected to the German parliament, and this German parliament was called as Reichstag. This republic, however, was not received very well by its own people because of the terms it was forced to accept after Germany's defeat at the end of the First World War. Now, the peace treaty, which was signed at a place called as Versailles with the Allies, was very harsh and very humiliating peace treaty, because in this peace treaty, Germany lost much of its overseas colonies, its population, and much of its resource and land also. So, many Germans, they held the new Weimar Republic responsible for not only the defeat in the war but also the disgrace at Versailles. The effects of the First World War. The First World War had a very devastating impact on world, both psychologically and financially also. So Europe turned from a continent of creditors to a debtors. And Germany, they faced war guilt, national humiliation, and found itself crippled financially also. And soldiers, they rose above civilians. There was stress on men being aggressive, strong, and masculine, and media glorified the trench life. War propaganda and national honor caught public attention, and finally, there was a support for conservative dictatorship, and democracy ideals started ceasing. The country changed with demand for Soviet style government. Then socialists, Democrats and Catholics, they stressed for a democratic republic. Later there was a formation of Communist Party of Germany by Spartacists, and radical solutions were sought to achieve political gains. Now, during the First World War, Germany had fought war on loans and was made to repay it in gold. So, as a result, when they were lacking money, they started printing paper currency. Finally, it led to decline in the value of German mark. As a result, hyperinflation was created, and this created chaos in Germany. So, in order to help Germany, USA intervened and introduced the Dawes Plan to bail out Germany from all this economic crisis. However, USA could not help Germany for a very long period because in 1929, Wall Street Exchange in USA crashed. That means the biggest stock exchange which is located in USA, it crashed, and this was the beginning of great economic depression in Germany. Germany faced its worst economic crisis. There was loss of jobs or reduced wages. Unemployment reached unprecedented levels. Currency also lost its value. Savings also diminished for the people, and there was a fear of impoverishment in the whole Germany. The government formed at the end of the Second World War in Germany, that is the Weimar Republic, also faced many problems. The first problem was the weak coalition government. There was proportional representation. Then there was a misuse of Article 48, that is, the powers of president were misused. Then suspension of civil rights and the rule by decree. Then there were economic and social crises also, price rise, unemployment, humiliation caused unrest also among the people. Then no solution was sought, so people lost faith in the Weimar Republic. At the same time, the Treaty of Versailles, which was signed by the Weimar Republic, crippled Germany financially. Germany lost territories, then war damages and fine also was paid by Germany as a war guilt. Then there was an end of imperial rule, and National Assembly which was set up was in a very infant stage. On the whole, we can say that after the First World War, Germany's condition was very poor, and all these problems gave rise to Hitler. So, children, in the next class, we will read about Hitler's rise to power.